Hello guys, and welcome back to another Enshrouded guide, and I'm really excited for the Wake of the Water update because it brings with it water mechanics and water physics, though it is a little buggy for the time being. But the important thing is, at the moment we can now fill up various vestibules, whether that's water skins, water balloons, watering cans, or even the portable water pump, which I have here, from things like the well, or even from puddles of water that you find around the world. Unfortunately, my old build over here, my little hobbit house, has been flooded, but oh well, it's fine. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about water physics in-game and how you can use this in your builds. Now, once you have water collected, you can release this where you want in the world. And if it's going downhill, it will obviously trickle downhill, though there is, again, a few little bugs, such as this, where the water will still show as it rolling down the hill. However, if it's on a relatively flat piece of land, you're going to see that it just kind of disperses. There you go, slowly going away. However, if you have a little nook and cranny like this, you can actually fill this up like so, and providing there's no drain in there, which we'll talk about shortly, that water's going to stay there if it's within your base limits. Eventually it will disappear if it's not within your altar. Now, obviously, having the ability to add water to our builds is fantastic, and it's not restricted to the new biome, which is absolutely stunning, as you can see from here. Now, I can imagine we're going to see a lot of incredible builds with little streams and rivers running through them, but aside from the decoration, we can also use water and wind in order to power machines such as these mills. Now, I've only got this far into the game. I've only just unlocked all of these, so there may be other machines or generators available to us, so you'll have to bear that in mind for this tutorial. We may have to extend it later on. But the important thing is that we can now use water to generate the power in order to turn these. Also, I should mention, thankfully, now that it's raining, I can demonstrate. Any holes that you've dug don't seem to fill up with water from rain. So it looks like you have to be intentional with the placing of water in order for water to flow into your build. Anyway, with that said, let's head back. So we're back at our little test bed, and here we have two little canals. Now, these canals are dug out so that we can fill them with water, and we will pump the water into here, and you can see, believe it or not, I am pumping water in. There we go, it's a little better. And I am using this sluice gate right in front of me in order to hold the water back. Now, the sluice gate is the first item that you have available to control the water levels. So we have a large variant and a smaller variant, as you can see here. And the way the sluice gate works is that when it's closed, it stops the water from traveling through. And then when you open it, the water will obviously flow into the next section, leveling the water between the two sections. If you want to get rid of the water, you're going to have to use drains. So I have these floor drains here. You can also produce metal ones, and just by placing them in there, they're going to drain the water to this distance. And if we're to open this now, once again, you'll see that all the water will flow to here and drain out eventually. Now, I'm just going to fill this up again. So in order to generate power using a water wheel, which is either this variant or this variant here, which is mahusive, all you need to do is place it in the water. However, it needs to be a moving body of water. And opening up the sluice gate is not going to turn this on. It needs to be registered as a whole moving section of water. And in order to do that, we need to use one of two items we currently have available, which are the water dispensers. We have the small one, which I will just place there. And we also have a larger one, which is this one here. So in order to turn this water wheel on, we need to have a dispenser running. And you can place this where you want, but ideally it would be at the end of your canal or channel. And now you can see that the water wheel is turning ever so slowly, but it is turning. Now, before we talk about the generation of power, I do also want to mention that if you have a canal that's open all the way and it's closed in, you won't find that the water fills up completely. In fact, you can see here how the water's stopped at this point. It gently slopes off. So if you are wanting to fill out a large section, you may be better off using a pump to help you with that. Like so. You can open this, the water's going to continue flowing, and it should stay at this height roughly. Obviously, if you want to fill around the side, you're going to have to fill it up some more, but the water should keep flowing. In that way, you still get the aesthetic. The next thing that we want to talk about is power generation. Now that we've set this up and we have the water running here, if we have our mill and we place something in it and it's ready to run, you'll notice that we haven't got any force. And the reason for that is if the sluice is closed, the water wheel can't turn because it's reached an equilibrium. Now we should be able to turn this on. You can see how it says force, but no materials. And I'm honestly, there we go. Unsure as to why that wasn't running. It didn't automatically select. But of course, if we close this now, then this will eventually fill up and stop. And in theory, that will turn off. Although it might not. We'll find out. Yeah, there you go. It stopped running. If you are going to be... Oh, it turned itself back on then. If you are going to be using water wheels, then you are going to want to make sure that there is a drain at the end. And another thing that you can do, instead of using water wheels, if you want, is to use windmills, which I'm doing at my other base at the moment. You also have to consider the distance the mill is from the water wheel or even the windmill. And I think it's about the distance of a single altar, a level 1 altar. As you can see, we're still able to produce it from 2 different sides of the build. In fact, we can test that right now by taking this over to my other base. And here we are in my other base. This is, I think, a level 4, might be a level 5. It's the highest tier, bar the one that's just been unlocked. And we have a small windmill that we've just placed against the top roof there. It doesn't need to be connected to the mill itself. And you can see that this is producing the iron dust that we need. However, it does state the mill only works when there is a force generator nearby. Either windmill sails or a partially submerged water wheel counts as a generator. The force generator doesn't have to be connected to the mill. It can be placed freely. That's exactly what we've done there and also on the other one. But it does say on the water wheels and also the windmill that it must be placed near the mill. So if we were to place this over here, will it still run? We haven't got the force. And I would say that this is about the distance of a tier 1 altar. And there we go. So do be aware of that when you are setting up your windmills or your water mills. They need to be within relatively close proximity. If you're wondering where you can find everything, In the crafting bench, you have the floor drains. There are two variants. There's the wall drain or the floor drain. Personally, I prefer using the wall one. And if you go to manually crafting, you can actually find the stone variant as well, which I've been using. They're just cheaper, given that you already need to use the iron bars to produce the water dispensers. In this case, you need steel bars, iron dust, and also shell limestone, which can be found in the biome. As for the mill itself, if that's what you're wanting help with, we'll cover that just now. But these can be produced at the alchemist. You have the large water wheel, the small windmill sails, and also the small water wheel. And then we have the mill, which requires the improved millstone. So to get this, it's really simple. It's right at the start of the new biome. You'll find yourself at this sawmill. So in order to get the millstone, it's inside here. It's underneath. You can actually see it's here underneath. And to get to it, you'll need to head down to this section and you'll need to close these sluice gates. You can do this before you go in, but you need to stop the mill from turning in order to take it. And then you'll go in here. Be careful, there are exploders. They will kill me in a single shot, so I'm trying to avoid them. But you can just run straight up and around here, and then grab this, and then run straight out. We will just go back in briefly because I feel I should probably mention, if you've got to here, the reason I know, oh my goodness me, is that that little piece of paper, oh dear. The paper that's hung on the side there explains that it needs to stop, and to do that you need to close these sluice gates. Anyway, I'm going to grab my stuff and then we'll head back. As it stands, I can tell that using the windmill, we can power 3 mills at the same time. And I'm sure that's the same with the water wheel as well, the small one. I don't know if there is a restriction as to how many you can use. It would be nice if we did have that, but I think more importantly, it would be really good to have a way of reviewing how much force your base is using up. So that would be something that I'd hopefully like to see in the future, as well as obviously more things to play about with, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this quick little tutorial. I hope it's helpful. I'm doing this at 4 in the morning because I just haven't had time to do it earlier. So do forgive me if it's a little bit slow. I am going to be working on a video that covers everything new in the Wake of the Water update tomorrow. So do make sure to subscribe if you're interested in that. And let me know what else you would like to know about the Wake of the Water update in the comments, and perhaps we'll cover that also. But guys, until next time, ciao for now.